The alarms did not scream. They resonated. That was the first thing Lieutenant Armin Vale noticed. Every surface in the Royal Citadel vibrated with a harmonic pulse, a low, elegant warning tone that felt less like panic and more like an announcement that something profoundly expensive was about to break. Across the inner chamber, the Queen remained seated. She looked, at first glance, like any human woman, poised, composed, hands resting lightly on the arms of her throne. Only her long ears, tapering elegantly past her jawline, marked her as something older, something not born under Earth's sun. Her elite guards formed a semicircle around her. They were taller than Armin, faster than Armin, enhanced beyond anything Earth's military could legally admit existed. Their armor shimmered with adaptive fields. Their rifles tracked invisible trajectories, and yet none of them moved. "Is this a drill?" Armin asked into the chamber's open comm channel. No one answered. A second harmonic tone rolled through the floor. One of the guards muttered something sharp in their language. Armin didn't understand the words, but he understood tone. It was the universal dialect of soldiers realizing the plan had just evaporated. A fractured line of light split the air 10 meters in front of the throne. Not an explosion, not a door, a seam. Armin exhaled slowly. "That seems inconvenient." The seam widened. Something stepped through. It was tall, angular, composed of shifting metallic segments that reconfigured with mechanical precision. Its surface pulsed faintly as if scanning the room. One of the guards whispered, "Ancient Sentinel." Another took half a step back. Armin glanced sideways. Ancient as in museum piece, or ancient as in, we sealed this horror away and hoped history would forget. No reply. The Sentinel's head pivoted toward the throne. Target lock indicators flashed across Armin's borrowed tactical visor. Primary authority signature detected. That would be the Queen. The lead guard raised his rifle. The Sentinel's chest glowed. The guard lowered his rifle. Then, to Armin's absolute disbelief, the guard stepped back. Another followed, and another. Formation dissolved. "Oh," Armin said quietly, "we're doing this." The Queen did not stand. She watched. Her long ears angled slightly backward, not in fear but in calculation. The Sentinel advanced one step. The guards retreated two. Someone whispered, "Fall back." And then they ran, not in chaos, not screaming, but they ran. Armin blinked once. He looked left. Empty space where the Empire's finest had been. He looked right, more empty space. He looked at the Queen. She met his eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "Well," Armin muttered, drawing his blade from its magnetic sheath, "this is awkward." The Sentinel's gaze shifted to him. Secondary threat identified. Secondary, Armin scoffed. Rude. His comm crackled to life. "Lieutenant Vale, withdraw immediately." A distant officer shouted. "That unit predates current command hierarchies." "Great," Armin replied. "So it doesn't respect modern authority. I can relate." He did not step back. The Sentinel's arm reshaped into something that looked very much like a cannon. Armin adjusted his grip. "Your Majesty," he said without looking away from the machine, "any hidden palace defenses you'd like to mention right now?" Her voice was calm. "The Citadel is recalibrating. The Sentinel recognizes only original Imperial command codes. And those would be older than my line." "Fantastic." The Sentinel advanced again. Distance, 8 meters. Armin inhaled slowly. "I assume surrender is not an option." "It has not offered one," she replied. "Figures." The Sentinel's weapon charged, light intensifying along its core. Armin shifted his stance. He was not enhanced. Not genetically refined. Not born into alien nobility. He was human. Stubborn by evolutionary design. "You know," he called out conversationally to the machine, "back home we decommission outdated war tech. We don't let it wander into throne rooms." The Sentinel fired. Armin moved. The blast struck the floor where he had been standing, energy rippling outward. He rolled, came up on one knee, blade humming to life with a sharp blue edge. The Sentinel recalibrated instantly. "Oh, you adapt," Armin muttered. "That's fun." He charged, not because it was wise, but because someone had to stand between the thing and the woman on the throne. The sentinel swung. Armin barely deflected the strike, the impact shuddering up his arm. Warning indicators flared across his visor. "Your Majesty," he grunted, "if you have a brilliant plan, now would be an excellent time." She rose slowly, even now composed. "The Citadel's core is responding to my neural signal," she said. "It will take time." "How much time?" "More than you prefer." He grinned tightly. "Story of my life." The sentinel pivoted, attempting to bypass him. Armin stepped into its path. "No," he said simply. The machine paused, reassessing, primary target obstructed. "Correct," Armin replied, "obstructed." Behind him he could feel the Queen's presence. Not fragile, not panicked, but watching. The sentinel's core flared brighter. Armin lifted his blade. "I don't have royal lineage," he said quietly. "I don't have ancient command codes." The machine advanced. He planted his feet. "But I do have a very strong dislike of bullies." And he did not move. The alarms didn't scream. They hummed, a low, resonant pulse vibrating through the corridors of the royal citadel, shaking dust from the intricate crystal lattice ceilings. Lieutenant Armin Vale felt it in his chest before he heard it in his ears. A vibration so precise it felt like the building itself was speaking in Morse code, warning the world of imminent chaos. He straightened his back, glancing at the Queen. She sat on her throne as if the alarms were polite background music. Her appearance was human, almost deceptively so, but her long ears curved gracefully behind her head, catching the soft light and giving her an air of subtle regality that even the architecture seemed to bow toward. Her eyes were calm, almost amused, as if she'd been waiting for this exact moment all her life. Armin's gaze flicked to the semicircle of elite guards surrounding her. They were perfect, genetically refined soldiers with reflexes so fast they made time seem sluggish around them. Their armor shimmered with adaptive camouflage. Their rifles thrummed with preloaded predictive targeting systems. But despite their training, their movements froze. They exchanged glances, unspoken fear rippling between them like a virus. "Is this a drill?" Armin muttered into the open comm channel, half expecting someone to reply. No one answered. A crack of light split the chamber's far wall, not violently, not explosively, but surgically. A precise fracture along ancient stone and alloy that hadn't been disturbed in centuries. Armin squinted. "Oh, that's convenient," he said. From the fracture stepped something that should have been a legend. Angular, metallic, and pulsing with a strange, almost liquid energy, the construct moved with mechanical precision. Its segmented limbs adjusted with self-calibrating fluidity, scanning, analyzing, assessing. The lead guard raised his rifle. The sentinel's head swiveled, targeting the Queen with an immediate and frightening accuracy. The guard's hands shook and slowly, almost imperceptibly, he lowered the weapon. Another guard followed, and another. Armin's eyes widened. "Well, this is awkward." The formation collapsed. The elite guards, trained from birth to protect her, began stepping back. One muttered, "We must withdraw." Another, quieter but no less panicked, turned and bolted. Soon the semicircle became a thinning line, then nothing. Armin stood frozen for half a heartbeat, then drew his own blade. Its plasma edge hummed to life with a sharp blue glow. He looked at the Queen. She did not flinch. Her long ears twitched slightly, a subtle acknowledgement that she had expected this human stubbornness. "Your Majesty," Armin said, lifting his weapon, "I don't have your guards or your magic fancy armor, or whatever software you're running on those rifles. But I do have this." He tapped the hilt, and a tendency to annoy highly dangerous machines. The sentinel moved. Its armored limbs reshaped into something vaguely cannon-like. It fired. Armin rolled to the side, energy cracking the marble where he had been standing moments before. He came up on one knee, blade ready. "See," he said, wincing. "You almost ruined my shoes." The Queen's voice cut through the tension, calm, composed, and lightly amused. "The Citadel will stabilize. Its energy grids are responding to my neural signature. It will not fail you. Armin wiped sweat from his brow. That's reassuring. But it's moving faster than my optimism, Your Majesty. The Sentinel's targeting systems shifted. It ignored the retreating guards, recalibrating for the human standing stubbornly in its path. Armin smirked. You know, back home, we usually decommission things like you, instead of letting them wander into throne rooms. The machine pivoted, testing him, attempting to bypass the human obstacle entirely. Armin planted his feet and raised the blade. Not today. He dodged another pulse of energy, the blue glow of his plasma blade reflecting off the Sentinel's polished surfaces. Sparks danced along the floor as the weapon struck metal. I should get hazard pay for this, he muttered. Somewhere in the job description it says nothing about interstellar ancient war machines, right? The Queen rose slowly, graceful, composed. Her long ears flicked as she observed. You are doing more than holding the line, human. You are recalibrating the construct's threat assessment. Armin grinned despite the sweat. That's me, part-time soldier, part-time therapist for killer robots. The Sentinel recoiled slightly, paused, then adjusted again. Its sensors tracked him with near-perfect anticipation. Armin spun aside, slashing lightly, the weapon's edge cutting arcs of glowing energy through the chamber. You know, for something ancient, you're remarkably polite, almost boring. He darted between columns of light and crystal, forcing the Sentinel to overcorrect, buying time. The Queen's neural signal pulsed softly, stabilizing the citadel. Systems flickered, beams of energy shifted, and the chamber's ambient light changed with subtle grace. Almost like ballroom dancing, Armin said aloud. Except, you know, deadly and metal. He deflected another strike, feeling the raw force ripple up his arms. The Sentinel's targeting core glowed brighter. Its motions were precise, but each swing left gaps. Armin exploited them, taunting as he moved. Come on, I've survived worse. Well, almost worse. Definitely once or twice worse. The Queen stepped closer. You are human. You lack enhancements, yet you adapt with ingenuity. Ingenuity is just impatience wrapped in stubbornness, Armin said. Also, a mild caffeine deficiency, but that's just a personal quirk. The Sentinel paused, recalibrating, assessing, and Armin realized something strange. It was not simply attacking, it was thinking. Its algorithms were struggling against a simple, unpredictable human will. He crouched, sidestepping a sweeping energy strike. Guess what, buddy? I'm unpredictable. The Queen's voice, low and calm, echoed in the chamber. Stand firm, human, you are not alone. Armin raised his blade. He could hear the hum of the citadel adjusting around him, see the shifting energy grids, feel the subtle pulse of alien power supporting him. The Sentinel advanced again. He met its gaze. I don't have your throne, I don't have your soldiers, I don't even have long ears, he said, voice steady. But I have this. And he did not move. The alarms thrummed like a chorus of impatient starships, shaking the citadel walls with a low-frequency pulse that made every crystalline surface hum. Lieutenant Armin Vale felt the vibrations in his chest before he even processed the sound. An instinct told him something expensive, ancient, and slightly homicidal was about to enter the room. Across the inner chamber, the Queen sat on her throne. She appeared human at first glance, tall, composed, with pale skin and dark hair. But the long, graceful sweep of her ears behind her head betrayed a lineage older than any human record. She did not flinch as the alarms echoed. Her eyes were calm, amused almost, like someone watching a play where she already knew the ending. Armin glanced at the semicircle of elite guards stationed around her. They were genetically enhanced, surgically sharpened, and tactically preternatural. Their rifles gleamed under the chamber lights, predictive targeting systems humming softly as they scanned the room. And yet, none of them moved. Their formation wavered, hesitation creeping into motions that were supposed to be perfection. Is this a drill? Armin muttered into the open comm channel. No one answered. The far wall cracked, not violently, not with a roar, but surgically. A thin line of energy split the surface of ancient alloy and marble, widening like a seam in reality itself. Armin squinted. "Oh, that's inconvenient," he said softly. From the fracture stepped something that belonged more to nightmares than diplomacy. Angular, metallic, alive in a terrifyingly fluid mechanical way, the construct adjusted each limb independently, sensors scanning, calculating, prioritizing. The lead guard raised his rifle. The sentinel pivoted its head toward the throne and locked a targeting vector on the queen. The guard's hands trembled. Slowly, imperceptibly, he lowered the weapon. Another guard followed, and another. The formation collapsed. Armin blinked. "Well, this is awkward." The elite guards muttered to one another, their voices sharp with excuses that sounded suspiciously like fear. And then, as if by unspoken agreement, they turned and fled. Not in panic, but with the mechanical precision of beings trained to obey, except this time, the object of their obedience had vanished. Armin stood, drawing his plasma blade. Its edge hummed a sharp blue, a sound both reassuring and menacing. He looked at the queen. She remained calm, her long ears twitching slightly. "Your Majesty," he said, "I don't have your elite guards, your centuries of tactical genius, or whatever software keeps your soldiers from panicking. I just have this." He tapped the hilt, and a surprisingly stubborn streak. The sentinel moved. Its arm reformed into a glowing cannon. Energy arced along its segmented frame. Armin rolled aside. "E-Citadel is stabilizing. My neural interface is redirecting power to essential systems." "That's reassuring," he said, wiping sweat from his brow, "but it's moving faster than my optimism." The sentinel pivoted, assessing, calculating, and recalibrating. It ignored the empty corridors where the elite guards had once stood and fixed its attention on him. Armin smirked. "You know, back home, we decommission old war machines before they wander into throne rooms." The machine's targeting core pulsed brighter. It lunged, and Armin ducked under a sweeping strike, blue plasma igniting the polished floor. Ah yes, nothing like a little death-defying acrobatics to start the day. He spun aside again, slicing at a joint of its metallic limb. Sparks danced in the chamber. "Come on, I'm human, predictable in the best possible ways, slightly reckless and mildly caffeinated." The sentinel recalibrated mid-swing. Armin ducked another energy strike, rolling forward. "You're adaptive. That's impressive. Also terrifying, but mostly impressive." The queen rose slowly, her hands adjusting the neural interface near her throne. "Your stance, your choice, human. It forces the construct to reconsider its threat matrix." "Glad I could help," he muttered. "Although I usually help with paperwork, not planetary-scale murder machines." The sentinel's limbs shifted again, its weaponized arm aimed directly at him. He crouched, spun, and deflected with the plasma blade. "You know, for an ancient war construct, you have a peculiar sense of dramatic timing. Ever consider a career in theater?" The queen's calm voice echoed. "Stand firm. You are not alone." Armin planted his feet, blade humming steadily. He could feel the subtle vibrations of the citadel, the energy grids bending slightly to accommodate her signal. He met the sentinel's gaze. "I don't have royal lineage," he said quietly. "I don't have enhanced reflexes or centuries of training. I just have this." He tapped the blade's hilt again, and a very strong dislike of surrendering to old machines. The sentinel advanced, measuring, computing, hesitating for just a fraction of a second longer than usual. Armin grinned. "Good, take your time. I like to make things interesting." He lunged forward, blade raised, ready not because he was invincible, but because someone had to hold the line. The queen's ears caught the chamber light as she stepped forward slightly, watching the human soldier stand against what even her elite forces could not face. And Armin did not move. The chamber had settled into a tense rhythm. The sentinel still moved, each motion precise, every limb a calculation in kinetic energy and threat assessment. Armin stayed crouched behind the fractured columns, plasma blade flickering in sync with the sentinel's scanning pulses. The queen's presence was steady, a quiet pulse that reached him through the neural resonance of the throne's interface. "You're not even breathing hard," she said, her voice echoing softly across the chamber. "Do humans normally remain so stubborn under imminent death?" Armin grinned faintly, brushing a streak of sweat from his brow. "We have a complicated relationship with panic. Sometimes it's called improvisation, sometimes bad decision-making, and sometimes, well, survival instinct wrapped in sarcasm." The Sentinel's head pivoted. Light sensors flickered across the chamber, scanning and recalibrating. It seemed to recognize a variable it could not categorize. Armin cocked his head. "Yes, I am unpredictable, not sorry." A distant alarm chimed in harmonic sync with the Sentinel's pulse. The Queen spoke into the air. "The Citadel's secondary systems are aligning. I can redirect energy to amplify your tactical field." Armin raised an eyebrow. "Amplify my tactical field? Sounds fancy. I'm assuming that doesn't come with a manual, does it?" "No manual necessary," she said, though her voice carried a hint of amusement. "Your instincts are sufficient." He smirked. "Good, because the last time I had a manual, it exploded." The Sentinel advanced, each movement more deliberate, trying to anticipate Armin's erratic pattern. He darted between the tall crystalline pillars, plasma blades slicing arcs of light in the flickering ambient glow. Sparks leapt where the energy discharged along the polished floor, reflecting off the Sentinel's metallic surface. "Ever notice," he muttered aloud, "that killing machines never seem to understand humor? Maybe it's the metallurgy." The Queen's voice chimed softly in his earpiece. "You are drawing its attention strategically. I am rerouting the energy flows to reinforce your positioning." Armin tilted his head. "Reinforcing my positioning? So I'm basically a living keystone now? Fantastic. Always wanted to be architectural." The Sentinel struck, sweeping a metallic arm toward him. Armin leapt aside, letting the limb smash into a pillar. The crystal shards scattered like miniature constellations, glittering in the ambient glow. He landed lightly, rolling forward, plasma blade flashing. "Nice day for a little furniture rearrangement," he quipped. The Queen's neural resonance pulsed again, guiding arcs of energy along the chamber walls, reinforcing structural integrity and subtly nudging the Sentinel's calculations. Armin realized that the machine was beginning to hesitate. Its precision remained, but its rhythm faltered ever so slightly. "I think it's confused," he muttered, ducking another sweeping strike. "Either that or it just hates sarcastic humans." "Yes," the Queen said dryly. "That is precisely the variable it cannot compute." He grinned, lunging closer, deflecting a metallic arm with his plasma blade. Sparks flew. "Glad my sarcasm has practical applications." The Sentinel paused, recalibrating mid-motion. Its targeting core flared, energy lancing along its chassis. Armin ducked under the swing, rolling along the floor, and came up crouched, plasma blade humming steadily. "You know," he said aloud, "I usually do this with paperwork, not giant killing machines. You're really messing with my schedule." A low vibration ran through the chamber. Energy pulses from the Citadel's core responded to the Queen's neural commands, aligning protective grids and feeding controlled bursts of power into Armin's tactical zone. The Sentinel flinched slightly, its algorithms struggling to reconcile the unpredictable human within a dynamic energy field. "Looks like you're getting a little help," he said, ducking another strike. "I appreciate it, really. It's very supportive." The Queen's ears flicked, catching the light of the reinforced energy conduits. "Do not rely solely on my intervention. Your decision-making is the primary factor." "Right," he said. "Stubbornness over raw power." "Got it, my specialty." The Sentinel's swing was faster now, more precise, but Armin's erratic movements combined with the energy field destabilized its attack patterns. He darted in and out of the energy pulses, letting the machine recalibrate, luring it into overcorrection. "Ever notice that ancient machines don't appreciate improvisation?" He quipped mid-roll, plasma blade humming. "Makes them cranky." It paused for a fraction of a second, just enough for Armin to see an opening. He leapt, slashing toward the machine's segmented limb. Sparks exploded as the blade connected, deflecting the arm. The sentinel recalculated instantly, but its rhythm had shifted. "See that?" he said, crouching and spinning aside. Chaos, applied strategically. The Queen's presence pulsed, subtle but unmistakable. "You are beginning to influence its behavior. Maintain the pattern." Armin rolled, plasma blade arcing. "Influence? I prefer annoy the heck out of it. Much more satisfying." The sentinel recalibrated again, slower this time, forced to account for the unpredictable human. It lunged, faster and more dangerous, but Armin danced between its strikes, a combination of instinct and controlled energy bursts. "I have to admit," he said, sidestepping a metallic sweep, "this is way more fun than morning drills, and much more alive. Not that I recommend the experience." The sentinel's movements grew staggered, hesitant. The energy pulses from the Queen's neural interface reinforced every step he took, but the brilliance was that Armin had to choose every motion himself. Not guided, not enhanced, not commanded. "Decision-making," he said aloud, breathing heavily, "and just a pinch of human chaos. Works every time." The sentinel paused again, its head swiveled, analyzing. Its core pulsed, the glow fading slightly. Armin crouched, blade ready, sweat streaking his face. "Almost like dancing," he muttered. "Deadly, energetic, slightly terrifying, but still a dance." The Queen's voice resonated through the chamber. "Hold your ground. Your instinct has proven superior to their programmed calculations. Continue." Armin straightened, raising the plasma blade with a grin. "Superior? Nah, just stubborn. But if it works, I'll take the win." The sentinel advanced once more, but for the first time it hesitated. And in that hesitation, Armin knew the battle was no longer about raw power. It was about will, cunning, and an unflinching refusal to yield. "All right, metal friend," he said, rolling aside. "Let's see how you handle human unpredictability. It's my specialty." And he charged. Armin crouched behind the fractured pillar, plasma blade flickering, and watched the sentinel recalibrate. It had begun to anticipate some of his moves, but not all. Not the little jokes he whispered aloud to himself as he darted between the machine's sweeping strikes. "I swear if I survive this," he muttered, "I'm writing a strongly worded review about your lack of sportsmanship." The Queen stood slightly behind the battlefield, her long ears angled forward, catching every flicker of the energy pulses. Her eyes followed him intently, and though she said nothing at first, Armin could feel the subtle hum of the citadel responding to her neural signature, bending power toward him. "Feeling like a keystone yet?" he asked her without looking. "I am, also slightly terrified, mostly thrilled." The sentinel's movements accelerated, the segmented limbs flowing with preternatural precision. Each strike carved arcs of energy through the chamber, yet Armin had begun to predict patterns in the chaos. He rolled, ducked, and slashed, creating a rhythm that neither he nor the machine fully controlled, a dance of danger. "Ever notice," he said aloud while leaping aside, "that ancient war machines really, really dislike sarcasm? Makes them twitchy. They are responding to your energy, not your humor," the Queen replied. Her voice carried a trace of amusement. "But your commentary is effective in distracting it." Armin smirked. "Effective, fantastic. Distracting, lethal, and emotionally supportive. Kind of like a really bad dating profile if you think about it." The sentinel's head pivoted, its glowing core focusing on him. It struck with renewed force, swinging an arm that reshaped into a blade of pure kinetic energy. Armin ducked, sliding along the polished floor as sparks erupted where the energy met the crystalline columns. He leapt to his feet, plasma blade tracing arcs in the soft blue glow of the citadel's emergency lights. "You know, back home we usually upgrade or retire things like you before they terrorize royalty. But hey, more fun this way." A low hum ran through the chamber as the Queen synchronized her neural interface with the citadel's defensive grid. Armin felt a subtle pressure beneath his boots, a faint guidance nudging him toward optimal positions. He glanced over his shoulder at the Queen. "You're giving me all the credit for standing in front of this thing," he said, grinning. "I appreciate the support truly. Also, do you have hazard pay for this, or am I just doing it for the dramatic flair?" Her ears flicked slightly. "You are shaping the outcome with your choices, human. The energy reinforcement is only a framework. Your instinct is decisive." "Instinct, stubbornness, and questionable career planning," Armin corrected. "Mostly the last one." The sentinel lunged again, sweeping toward him with mechanical precision. Armin spun under the arc, plasma blade snapping upward to deflect a follow-up strike. Sparks flew, illuminating the chamber in streaks of electric blue. He rolled to a crouch and shot the machine a mock glare. "Seriously, could you not? I left my emergency coffee in the break room, and this is really cutting into my morning routine." The Queen's calm resonance pulsed through the chamber. "You have found its pattern, human. Continue. Draw it into the grid's influence." Armin grinned, ignoring the tremor in his knees. "Found its pattern. Oh, sweetheart, I'm improvising like a caffeinated jazz band." The sentinel hesitated, analyzing the unpredictable variables. Its movements became more cautious, segmented limbs adjusting mid-strike, recalibrating its timing. The energy grid from the citadel reinforced his position, creating subtle pressure zones that disrupted its targeting calculations. "Ha, you're thinking too much," Armin muttered. "That's my department, chaos and bad jokes." A metallic limb lashed out and he narrowly sidestepped, rolling along the floor to avoid the blast. He came up crouched, plasma blade steady. "All right, this is getting fun. If you had a fan club, I'd join to heckle them." The Queen's interface pulsed again, subtle arcs of energy flowing into Armin's tactical field. He felt faster, lighter, more precise, but still human, still aware that one misstep could mean disaster. "Feeling supported yet?" he asked, dodging another sweeping strike. "You are more capable than any protocol or weapon in this chamber," she replied softly. Armin rolled, launching himself forward, blade flashing. "Capable, sarcastic, and slightly underpaid. Got it." He feinted left, then right, forcing the sentinel to overcompensate. Sparks flew with each deflection, illuminating the chamber's crystalline floors in brief bursts of blue and silver. "You're adapting," he said aloud, grinning. "I like that. Makes the fight more interesting. Also keeps me from falling asleep standing up." The sentinel's core flared brightly. Its algorithmic precision could no longer anticipate every erratic human movement. Each swing met nothing but air, forcing the machine to pause mid-strike, recalculating. "See, this is the part where stubborn humans win," Armin said. "Not by strength, not by armor, but by sheer annoying persistence." The Queen's presence pulsed again, her long ears catching the ambient glow. "You are teaching it hesitation. Your improvisation, human, is more effective than any protocol." Armin crouched, plasma blade humming in his hands. "Teaching hesitation. I guess I'm an unpaid teacher. If only it were grading papers instead of trying to kill me." The sentinel paused for the first time, its limbs twitching as it tried to compute an unpredictable element outside its programming. Armin grinned, rolling forward and slashing at the edge of its armored limb. Sparks erupted, scattering across the floor. "Almost like dancing," he muttered. "Deadly, dangerous, but entertaining." The Queen's resonance pulsed warmly through the chamber. "Maintain focus, human. The machine is beginning to respect your presence, and it is adjusting to your rhythm." Armin raised his blade, spinning on one heel. "Respect, sure, but mostly it's annoyed. And if you know anything about humans, annoyed is motivation enough." The sentinel lunged again, slower this time, deliberate, cautious. Armin ducked, rolled, and countered with a swift strike, sparks showering in the dim light. "All right, my metallic friend," he said, panting slightly. "Time to learn human chaos. Take notes, because this is going to sting." And with that, he charged into the rhythm of combat, laughing quietly at the absurdity of standing alone against an ancient war machine, yet feeling the faint pulse of confidence in every strike. The dance continued, unhurried, unpredictable, and against all odds effective. Armin's blade hummed steadily as the sentinel staggered backward, the energy arcs along its limbs pulsing erratically. He wiped sweat from his brow and muttered, "Finally, you're learning to hesitate. About time someone did." The Queen's presence flowed through the citadel, her neural signal steadying the energy grids, stabilizing the chamber. The machine's recalculation slowed, the precision giving way to uncertainty as Armin's unpredictability grew into a rhythm of its own. "You're holding your own remarkably well," the Queen said softly, her voice calm but carrying that subtle, amused tone. Her long ears swiveled slightly as if emphasizing her words. "I had expected only survival. You have become effective." Armin grinned, spinning to deflect a glowing arm. Effective, sarcastic, mildly caffeinated. Standard package, really. He ducked another strike, rolling toward a crystalline pillar, the sparks dancing along the edges. "So, does effectiveness come with hazard pay, or am I just doing this for personal growth?" "You have changed the calculus," she replied. "The Sentinel is reassessing its threat priority. It no longer considers destruction inevitable, it now factors your decisions." "Good," Armin said, blocking a swing with a flick of his blade. "I like when things consider me. Makes life feel appreciated. Also makes them slightly slower, which is fun." The Sentinel lunged, a combination of arm blades and energy pulses, faster than ever, but Armin's erratic pattern forced it to overcompensate. He ducked, rolled, and struck again, sparks erupting along the metal. "See, this is the part where human stubbornness becomes a superpower," he muttered. The Queen moved closer, the neural interface's pulse syncing with the floor grids. Energy flowed toward Armin, not overpowering him, just enhancing the environment so that every dodge, every strike, created a small ripple in the machine's calculations. "You are teaching it hesitation, human," she said. "It now predicts less and reacts more." Armin leaned against a pillar for a second, catching his breath. "Teaching hesitation. Well, I guess I can add robot therapist to my resume, though the pay is still questionable." The Sentinel's movement slowed further, its glowing core flickering like it was processing an error it couldn't fix. Armin's grin widened. "Ah, I think we're at that beautiful stage where even ancient war machines get confused by humans." "I love it. Maintain focus," the Queen warned. "Your opportunity is near. One precise strike combined with the Citadel's energy pattern can neutralize it without total destruction." Armin twirled the blade in one hand, flicking the sparks off the polished floor. "Neutralize, not destroy, got it. I'm very polite that way." He studied the Sentinel, noting the stagger in its steps, the hesitation in its strikes. Timing was everything. He stepped into the center of the chamber, letting the energy pulses flow around him. The Sentinel advanced one last time, arm slicing in a blur, but he ducked, spun, and slashed at the precise joint of the machine. Sparks exploded like miniature supernovas, and for the first time the machine faltered entirely, collapsing into an inert heap of segmented metal. Armin lowered the blade, chest heaving. Well, that was fun. Also slightly terrifying, but mostly fun. He looked at the Queen. "You know, for someone ancient and royal, you're surprisingly calm." The Queen's eyes softened. "You have done more than protect me, human. You have restored balance to the Citadel and prevented a calamity that even my elite guards could not." Her long ears twitched with faint amusement. "Your courage and quick thinking have changed how this court views humans, and yourself." Armin blinked, letting the adrenaline ebb. "Changed how I view myself too," he admitted. "I always thought bravery was a word for stories and propaganda. Turns out it's mostly standing there, sweating, and refusing to let a giant killing machine pass." The Queen smiled faintly. "You have learned, human, that courage is not the absence of fear but the choice to act in spite of it. You have acted and you have prevailed." He sheathed his blade with a soft hum. Prevailing is nice. I hope they give me a medal or at least a nap, preferably both." Her voice softened further. "You have grown through this trial, and your loyalty, chosen, not commanded, has proven invaluable. You are no longer simply a soldier. You are a guardian, recognized not by rank or lineage, but by action." Armin chuckled, rubbing a hand over his neck. "Guardian, huh? Sounds fancy. I'll put it on the resume, though I might need a smaller version for normal life." The Queen approached him, her long ears angled in approval. "You have earned the respect of not just myself, but of this entire citadel. Even those who fled now understand that a single human can alter the course of events if their will is firm." He looked around at the empty chamber, the inactive sentinel, the scattered sparks, and the softly humming energy grids. "Alter the course of events," he repeated. "Yep, sounds about right. Humans do tend to make a mess before fixing things." She chuckled softly, a rare sound. "And sometimes that mess is exactly what is required. You have reminded us all that courage, ingenuity, and even humor can bend fate." Armin shook his head, a grin tugging at his lips. "Bend fate, avoid death, and survive ancient war machines, all in a day's work, or at least a day in the galactic capital." The Queen's gaze softened. "Rest now, human. The Citadel has been secured. You have proven that even the smallest, least expected among us can shape the future." Armin exhaled, finally letting himself relax. "Rest sounds amazing, and maybe a snack. Preferably one not charged with plasma energy." She smiled faintly. "You have earned both." As the energy pulses of the Citadel stabilized, the hum of the alarms faded. Armin looked around one last time, then at the Queen. "So do we tell the guards they're no longer elite, or just let them stew in embarrassment?" "Let them stew," she said calmly, almost amused. "They will learn from this." Armin grinned. "Perfect. Human teaching method number 1. Survival by example." The chamber quieted. The sentinel remained inert, the energy grid settled, and the Queen finally sat once more on her throne. Armin sheathed his blade fully and stretched. "Well," he said quietly to himself, "I guess I'm officially a legend, or at least a minor heroic anecdote." The Queen's eyes met his, long ears angling subtly forward. "You have changed yourself, human, and by doing so you have changed the destiny of this citadel. Remember this, courage is not given, it is chosen."